So now I'm going to show you how to plot a graph of the toy arrows activity, and what you can see is I've put the X values in one column and the H values in another. I'm just going to highlight those values and that will plot me insert, scatter graph, put the dots in, and here's the graph that I've got. I can take off that bit where it says series, that's useless. Put in the labels as before, put in the axis titles, horizontal axis below the axis, and that is my extension, and it's in meters. Click return and it goes into the box. Axis titles for the vertical axis, rotated title is height, meters. Click return and it's in the box. So this is showing me that it's obviously not a linear trend on here. I could, if I want to, get Excel to draw me the line that just joins the dots as a curve, and I could do that by going back to the design tab and telling me that I want to change the chart type and the chart type that I might want to try would be just the dots joined with a curve, in which case that's what I end up with. Well, it's not a very beautiful curve, it's obviously not a good mathematical fit, but it does show that there's obviously not a linear trend, or I might just decide to go straight on to try and plot the linear graph that I think it is. Now this is showing an upwards curve. It could be an x squared relationship, it could be that y equals x squared, or it could be y equals x cubed. We have the theory which suggests it's y equals x squared. So what we can do is we can plot x squared. So I'm going to put x, and then in Excel it's a bit of a fiddle getting it to do superscript, so we'll just use that up arrow, which on my computer is Shift 6 to show squared, and of course the units will be in meters squared. Always do the same to the units. So in this box here I want to work out x squared. So what I'll do, I click in the box and write equals, and then the number I want squared is this one over here, and I can just do it the very easy way, is just click in there and then use the multiply sign. If you've got a keypad it'll just be a multiply sign you can use, but if you're on a keyboard you need to use the asterisk sign. So that's Shift 8 on my computer. So I've clicked that in, and I'm also going to click on this cell again. So I'm telling it to work out the value that equals that box times that box. And I click return, press on enter, and 0 squared is 0. Well, that looks about right. And what I can do now is I click in the box and I move the cursor until it's become a black cross. And when it becomes a black cross, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag down, and what you should see is as I drag, it's worked out the same equation for the next row down. If I click on that cell there, you'll find it's worked out A3 times A3, that cell there. And I can just drag all the way down here, and it's working out those squared values for me. So now I want to plot x squared against height. If I just want it to automatically put the height on the on the y-axis as it was, this was on the x, that was on the y, I want the same again. I'll just take a really easy way and copy and paste those cells in here. So what I can see here is that it's not a perfect straight line. I'll get rid of that so I can focus on my graph a bit better. If I try and draw a line of best fit through this, if I right click, add the trend line, and ask it to put into a linear line, then what it's done is it's used all the points and it's drawn a line this way. Now, my eye is telling me that in fact I've probably got more of a straight line down here, but a false 0. So I'm going to just take out the 0 from that. And it's quite common in experiments that the 0 isn't quite right because something different's going on. At the 0 reading it's sometimes very hard to be sure of where the 0 is. So now I'm going to try with those points to put in a trend line. And that is looking much more like a line through the points, and it's obviously offset from a 0 over here. What we had was actually very little height for the first few millimeters of movement there. So I'm going to go with that line. I'm going to click on Format Trend Line again to get it to display the equation on the chart. And I'm going to put in my axes. So I go up to Layout, and I'll put in my axes titles. The horizontal axis below the axis is of course x squared. So this is x squared, and what I'll do, I'll put it in properly. So I've typed the 2's normally, but I'll highlight them here and right click on them and choose font to make it go superscript. So I'm being correct about what I'm writing. So go to font, choose superscript. So now I've got the extension in meters squared, and on the vertical axis the rotated title there is going to be height in meters. I'll just put the symbols in, and in the title I'll make it clear what those things are. So my y value was actually what I'm calling h, and my x value is what I'm actually calling x squared. So remember to change these if you do use the Excel. So choosing the superscript there, and there is indeed an offset on this one. So might want to make it look a bit more like a proper graph by putting the grid lines in normally. It's really up to you. It hasn't really changed anything we've done. You could also change the maximum value here if you wanted to, but that looks like a fairly fine graph. The only thing I need to do is of course put a title in somewhere. I'll put it in above the chart, but I could have put it in a number of different places. I could just use, when I use the graph, I could put the label in when we paste it into the report. So this is height of arrow versus distance of string, or no, extension of the bow, really we call it, extension of bow, and that was squared. So probably need, these things never make very good English. That wants to be in superscript.